Olivia. William, what happened? In front of me, as I returned home from work, there was an astonishing scene. My daughter Olivia and my husband William were both collapsed in the living room, rushing over in a panic. Neither of them were breathing. Nearby, a rope and what seemed to be a suicide note were haphazardly placed. Trembling, I picked up the note. Reading its contents, my mind went blank. What on earth? William taking Olivia's life. From then on, in disbelief, I went through with their funerals. The police quickly concluded their investigation, aligning with the contents of the note. In other words, it was deemed a murder-suicide. That's impossible. William wouldn't do such a thing. As I stood there dumbfounded, someone unexpected visited me. And then, an astonishing truth came to light. I immediately informed the police and persistently pleaded for them to reinvestigate. Eventually, the police reluctantly agreed to reopen the case. They visited my home days later.
I'm sorry, it wasn't a murder-suicide.
One of the officers said slowly, looking uncomfortable.
The two of them.
As the truth was revealed thereafter, I was filled with an unbelievable mix of emotions. My name is Mary Smith. I'm turning 50 this year. I work as a part-time employee at a small local company, alongside managing my household. My husband, William, is 52 years old, 2 years older than me. He works as a section chief in the General Affairs Department of a small to medium-sized enterprise. We have one child, Olivia, who is 11 years old and in the 5th grade. However, Olivia is not our biological child. She is adopted. William and I got married in our 20s, but we couldn't have children. We underwent infertility treatments for a long time. However, the burden on my body was significant, and before I turned 40, we decided to give up. Instead, we discussed and decided to adopt a child. That child turned out to be Olivia. Olivia grew up healthily and became a kind and obedient child. Whether she's our biological child or not doesn't matter. We cherish Olivia above all else. We share a bond that's no different from an ordinary family, if not stronger. To think such a chilling event could happen to us. I couldn't believe it. No, I still can't. But it's the harsh reality that we're facing.
Mom, I'm home.
In the evening, Olivia returned home as usual with her cheerful voice. Behind her were her classmates, whom she's been getting along with recently.
Hi, we're here.
Excuse me.
Welcome. It's Lucas and Jennifer. Lucas is a mischievous boy who excels at games, while Jennifer is a diligent honor student. Somehow, they get along well, and recently, they've been exclusively playing together as a trio. They promptly enter Olivia's room and seem to be enjoying games together. The sound of their laughter is heartwarming. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, I prepared snacks for the three of them. I bought a reasonably priced pound cake from a pastry shop near the station. I briefly wondered if it's too cheap, but then I reminded myself that there's no need to show off. The truth is, the elementary school Olivia attends is attended by many wealthy families. This is because many excellent local companies are lined up nearby, naturally attracting company presidents and the like. We got the land cheaply from William's relatives and just happened to build a house there. It's not like we have a lot of money. So, this was unexpected. At events like the elementary school's parent-teacher conferences, There were many parents dressed in glamorous outfits and carrying expensive branded items. I felt a bit uncomfortable in that atmosphere. Being a no-brand person, I stood out, and even at subsequent PTA meetings, the conversations were dominated by discussions of overseas trips and fancy restaurants. I still vividly remember feeling out of place. Consequently, naturally, their children also wear nice clothes and have refined tastes. Thinking about that, I hesitated to serve cheap snacks to Olivia's friends, knowing they could tell. But there's no need to go out of my way to serve luxury snacks to children. It's not good to spoil Olivia with extravagance from a young age. I gathered myself, knocked on Olivia's door, and went inside. Today's snack is pound cake. Enjoy it together, everyone. The kids cheered.
Yay, thanks, Auntie.
Thank you.
Lucas's eyes sparkled, and Jennifer thanked me in her cute way.
Thanks, Mom.
Olivia also smiled. Children are innocent, regardless of adult concerns, I thought to myself. But then Lucas unexpectedly remarked,
Auntie, this is the cheapest $1.52 pound cake from the shop near the station, right?
"Oh, well, you know it well, Lucas, but even though it's cheap, it's really delicious," I replied, feeling a bit nervous as if he could see through me.
That shop has the best $6 cheesecake. Isn't it true that the more expensive it is, the better it tastes? Is your family struggling financially, Olivia?
Lucas's straightforward questioning left me and Olivia with puzzled expressions. Do families have conversations like this at home? As I pondered how to respond, Jennifer came to the rescue.
That's not okay, Lucas. It's rude to talk about prices like that.
Oh, come on. It's not a big deal. By the way, the cake we ordered from a famous pastry chef the other day at home was so delicious.
Lucas continued, boasting without a care. I was taken aback by his attitude, but Olivia and Jennifer nodded along with interest. Well, I suppose it's the age where kids want to show off about something. With the children getting excited, I left Olivia's room. That night, William returned home. We gathered around the dining table, and as usual, Olivia started chatting.
We played games together today. I managed to beat Jennifer, but I can't win against Lucas. He's really good at games, you know. Plus, he's so knowledgeable and a foodie too.
Yay, I see. I casually replied. Recalling today's events left me with mixed feelings, but since Olivia didn't seem bothered by it, I was relieved for the moment. Still, I didn't expect Lucas to suddenly bring up the topic of prices. I believe Lucas's family was supposed to be wealthy. I remember seeing Lucas's mother at a parent-teacher conference, dressed in luxurious clothes and giving me disdainful looks. With that demeanor, it's likely that everything in their household is high-end, and they probably only eat expensive things on a regular basis. Cheap pound cake, like what I bought, is probably beneath their notice. William, who seems unaware of such matters, smiles happily.
I'm glad you have good friends.
Yay, ever since we got into this class, every day has been so much fun.
It's a peaceful moment, just like always. I felt at ease. Little did I know that such peaceful days would suddenly collapse. A sense of unease crept in. Lately, Olivia seemed a bit down. I wondered if something happened at school. Maybe she had a fight with her friends or was struggling with her studies. Lately, she hasn't been eating much dinner and has been spending more time locked up in her room. Even today, She went straight to her room as soon as she came home. Before, she would come in and say, "I'm hungry," and then cheerfully come to the kitchen to talk about what happened at school today. Feeling worried, I bought Olivia's favorite muffin on my way home from work. I thought we could eat it together, and I could listen to her troubles. "Olivia, I got us a snack." Imagining Olivia's delighted face, I absent-mindedly opened the door without knocking.
Wait, don't come in.
Olivia shouted in a panic, and something fell from her hands. Sorry. Hey, what's this?" I picked it up from the floor. Olivia turned pale. It was a pregnancy test kit. What? There was a clear line in the positive column. Why, what's this? What is it? I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and my voice trembled.
That's...
Olivia began, but then fell silent. No matter how much I asked, got angry, or tried anything, Olivia wouldn't say a word. All I could confirm was that this pregnancy test belonged to Olivia, which meant Olivia was pregnant. I couldn't believe it. True, Olivia started her period this year, but she's still in elementary school, still a child. I've heard that some kids her age already have boyfriends, but Olivia isn't that type. Even when I asked who it was, Olivia wouldn't say. Could it be that someone forced her? The thought sent shivers down my spine. What kind of person would do such a thing to a child like her? I persisted until the very end, trying to get Olivia to talk, but it was no use. Finally, she burst into tears. At that point, I was at a loss. I proceeded to prepare dinner, which had been left unfinished, and engaged with William when he returned home. The dinner table, with just the three of us, was unusually quiet.
I'm going to bed.
Olivia said that as usual, eating little and quickly retreating to her room. Wait, Olivia, we're not done talking yet. But calling out to her was in vain. She wouldn't say a word. Eventually, William, sensing something was off, asked,
"What's wrong? You two were silent during dinner. Did you have a fight?"
I let out a deep sigh at William's words. Well, you see. After some thought, I decided to confide in William. I couldn't handle such a serious matter on my own. Upon hearing the story, William was shocked.
"No way. Are you sure it's not some mistake?"
But I saw it with my own eyes, and Olivia herself said, "This is mine." When I said that, William's face contorted as he shouted,
"But Olivia is still in elementary school. Who on earth would do such a thing with her?"
I voiced my suspicions. Come to think of it, I received an email warning about a suspicious person lurking near the school the other day. I don't want to think about it, but could it be?
It's possible. Maybe she was approached by a suspicious person on her way home from school.
William nodded in agreement. Yeah, that could be why she can't talk about it. But if she's really pregnant, it's going to be tough. We need to take her to the obstetrician.
You're right, and I'll try to talk to Olivia myself. Depending on how things go, we might have to involve the police.
The mention of the police made me feel dizzy. This situation had become unbelievable. But we needed to catch the culprit quickly. I couldn't forgive anyone who would subject an elementary school student to such a thing. We needed to take action immediately. Luckily, tomorrow was Saturday, and everyone was off. I would persuade Olivia to go to the hospital or the police. Having made up our minds, we were prepared for what was to come. The next day, after finishing breakfast, as I was about to talk to Olivia, My phone rang. Hello? Oh, really? It was my boss from work. It seemed that there was some trouble, and I was asked if I could come in. Our workplace consists of the president, his wife, one full-time manager, and 2 part-time workers, including myself, totaling 5 people. Normally, part-time workers don't work on weekends, but they needed extra help. But I hesitated, but since they said it will be finished by lunchtime, I reluctantly agreed to take it on. I explained the situation to William and told him that I had to go to work. William accepted and said he would talk to Olivia. I was anxious. The job was to fix a mistake in the order, and although it was supposed to be done by lunch, it ended up being extended until 3 o'clock. I wondered if William and Olivia were getting tired of waiting. I'm home, I called out as I hurried back, but there was no response from anyone. Feeling suspicious, I entered the living room. To my surprise, I was greeted with a shocking sight. Olivia and William were lying face down. Olivia, William, what's wrong? I rushed over in a panic, but neither of them was breathing. Nearby, there was a rope and what seemed to be a suicide note, carelessly placed. The note read as follows:
I'm sorry. I'm the one who violated Olivia. I don't expect to be forgiven. Taking responsibility, I will leave this world with Olivia.
My mind went blank as I read it. What on earth? William was the one who got Olivia pregnant. And on top of that, to take such drastic measures. Trembling, I dialed for an ambulance and the police. Sure enough, both of them had passed away. I could barely stand, overwhelmed by the events unfolding before me. This is a nightmare. It doesn't feel like real life. Despite my confusion, the police proceeded with their duties in an indifferent manner. The scene was quickly examined, and then I was taken to the police station for questioning. There, I had to speak about things that were too painful to put into words. That Olivia wasn't my biological daughter, that she was pregnant, and that we were on our way to the hospital and police station just before this happened. Being detained for so long and constantly talking had left me exhausted. I was also grappling with the emotional shock and feeling mentally foggy. That's when it happened. The middle-aged detective facing me looked at me sympathetically.
Your husband must have been quite panicked. If you had gone to the hospital, they would have run tests and his relationship with your daughter would have been exposed.
In response to those words, I snapped back. My husband isn't like that. There must be some mistake.
Ma'am, I hate to say this, but these kinds of incidents are surprisingly common. She's not your biological child, right? It's possible you adopted her for that purpose from the beginning.
The detective's blunt words left me stunned. How dare you? What are you saying? Both my husband and I have raised Olivia with love and care. It's unthinkable to have such shady intentions. As I said this, the detective's expression became even more pitying.
Well, I understand you'd like to believe that, but you know, men can have faces they don't show their wives.
William isn't like that. I wanted to say it, but my mouth just wouldn't cooperate. Exhaustion and anger had reached their limit, and I couldn't speak any more. It seems that they've concluded it was a suicide pact based on the contents of that note. That's just impossible. No matter how much I insisted, the police wouldn't listen to me. As a result, no further detailed investigation was conducted. Eventually, Olivia and William's funerals were held. Despite going through the procedures, I still couldn't believe it. It felt like a dream, with disbelief coursing through my entire body. My mind was always clouded as if with fog, but with the help of my parents, we managed to get through the funeral somehow. Olivia's school friends, especially her close friends Jennifer and Lucas, also attended. William has friends and colleagues from work as well. Everyone was overwhelmed with sadness. However, the way they passed away was so tragic that it couldn't be ignored how delicately people treated the situation. Despite not wanting to hear it, I overheard whispers from mourners.
It seems like that husband could only love small children.
To do such a thing to a child not his own. What a terrible incident.
No, that's not true. I wanted to scream and refute it all. Why did the conversation steer in this direction? William would never do such a thing. Something must be wrong. I thought so, but I couldn't do anything about it. Lately, I've been unable to sleep and eat, day after day. I was completely worn out. My life had been so ordinary until now. So why did things have to turn out like this? With no energy to do anything, time just passed by. It was one day, like any other. The doorbell rang, and I opened the door. It was Jennifer and her mother. I haven't seen her since the funeral. Her face looked even more swollen with tears than it did then.
Auntie,
Thank you for coming, Jennifer. I forced a smile onto my tired face as I said that and guided them to the living room. Jennifer, still crying, offered her prayers for Olivia.
Olivia, I wanted to play more with you. I wanted to play games and study together with you. Olivia, I miss you.
The pure voice of the child almost brought tears to my eyes again. But soon, Jennifer's demeanor changed. She started crying harder and harder.
I'm sorry. It's my fault.
Huh? What do you mean? It's your fault. She fell silent. In place of the silent Jennifer, Jennifer's mother spoke up.
Actually, there's something Jennifer told me.
And then she relayed something. It was a shocking revelation. I see. I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me, Jennifer. After hearing the story, I was left dumbfounded.
I think it's best to inform the police about this fact,
Jennifer's mother said firmly. But I couldn't help but hang my head. But it seems like it's already being treated as a suicide pact. Then, unexpectedly, Jennifer's mother said,
I have relatives in the police force. I'll inform them, and I'll also ask them to somehow initiate a investigation.
Please, ma'am, I beg you to. As it is now, Olivia and Uncle are in such a pitiful situation.
Jennifer also pleaded, tears welling up in her eyes. Their words stirred my weakened heart ever so slightly. Got it. I wanted to uncover what happened to Olivia and William. Since Jennifer and her family were willing to cooperate, I decided to muster all my strength and do whatever I could. A few days later, I went to the police station to share the facts conveyed by Jennifer and her mother. I briefed the elderly detective I had spoken to before. So I don't think it was a suicide pact. Please, conduct another investigation. But the detective looked reluctant.
Even if you say that, the case was closed according to your husband's suicide note. There's no need for further investigation.
With a sigh, I made a formal request sincerely to the detective's indifferent expression. I'm begging you, please reconsider. I pleaded persistently, but the detective's response remained unchanged. Moreover, he started saying things like, we have other cases to deal with, we're busy. There was no other choice at this point. I mentioned the name of the relative who works in the police force, as I had heard from Jennifer's mother. When I mentioned that I had spoken to that person, the detective suddenly turned pale.
Excuse me.
Saying so, he left the room, and after a while, he returned with someone who seemed like his superior. Then, suddenly, in a polite tone, they said, "We will conduct a reinvestigation." I was surprised by this. It seems that the police contact related to Jennifer's mother is quite influential. In any case, it was positive development. I took a deep breath in relief. And then, things took a significant turn. A few days later, 2 police officers showed up at the house. There was a different atmosphere than before, and they seemed apologetic. As they were ushered into the living room, they immediately apologized.
I'm sorry. We were investigating it as a case of suicide pact, but it wasn't the case.
I knew it. I muttered. One of the police officers conveyed to me with a solemn expression.
Both of them were killed by a third party.
The police, conducting the investigation again, thoroughly examined every aspect. They retook fingerprints from the house, reviewed personal belongings and security camera footage, and conducted interviews with the neighbors. As a result, they found footage from a security camera near the residence, showing the car of the new suspect. It was Lori and Sam, the parents of Olivia's friend Lucas. They were the ones who harmed Olivia and William. Actually, it was Lucas who got Olivia pregnant. That was the confession I heard from Jennifer that day. According to her, the origin of the matter dated back several months ago. Lucas, who was curious and knowledgeable, seemed to awaken to sex one day under the influence of adult movies and comics. Out of curiosity, he proposed to Jennifer, "Let's play adults." Jennifer didn't have much knowledge and didn't really understand what the act entailed. However, she somehow felt uneasy intuitively. So Jennifer declined. She felt uncomfortable spreading such stories and kept it to herself, unable to confide in anyone. Since then, Lucas gave up trying to persuade Jennifer. Instead, he moved on to Olivia. According to Jennifer, Olivia also seemed to lack knowledge about sex. Even from my perspective, Olivia appeared innocent and didn't seem to have any interest in such matters.
I think Olivia couldn't refuse Lucas's request because she's kind-hearted. She probably didn't understand what it would lead to. So, I should have said, even if Lucas asks, just say no. If I had done that, things wouldn't have turned out like this. It's my fault.
Jennifer said that while crying. She seemed to regret not giving the advice. Meanwhile, the situation took a turn for the worst. Both of them passed away. When Jennifer attended the funeral, she was shocked to learn that Olivia's father, William, was being suspected. It seemed she summoned up the courage and confided in her own mother, realizing she couldn't keep quiet any longer. And then Jennifer's mother, who knew everything, brought Jennifer to my house.
It was Lucas who got Olivia pregnant. Since he's not your husband, there's no reason to keep silent. Perhaps it's difficult to say this, but they might have been taken out by adults around Lucas to silence them.
Jennifer's mother found it difficult to say what she thought truly happened, but her dreadful prediction turned out to be true. Lucas's parents, Lori and Sam, had devised a plan. It started when they learned about Olivia's pregnancy. Olivia, confused by the changes in her body, must have conveyed the current situation to Lucas. Naturally, It reached the ears of Lucas's parents from Lucas himself. Lori and Sam panicked. The Lucas family was prestigious, with relatives holding high social status. They are all elites. It is strictly forbidden for a child who was still in elementary school to be involved in any sex scandal. So the two of them decided to take action before the situation escalated. Perhaps they had even contemplated a story where Olivia met with an unfortunate end after being approached by a predator. Initially, it seemed they planned to lure Olivia somewhere alone. Most likely, Olivia, given some pretext, was intending to go out alone. This all unfolded on a Saturday morning after I had left for work. However, upon learning of it, William undoubtedly confronted Olivia about it. At that moment, Olivia told William the truth, and together, Olivia and William went to Lucas's home. However, this was an unexpected turn of events for Lori and Sam. They had instructed Olivia to come secretly, without informing her parents, and since William followed, the plan was ruined. Panicked, Lori and Sam changed their plan. They decided to take action against Olivia and William, making it look like a double suicide. And when it was all over, they brought the bodies to our living room. Next to Olivia and William, they left a rope and a suicide note. The content is that William looked at Olivia with sexual intent and ended up impregnating her, so he had no choice but to take action. The will was forged on the computer to avoid detection by handwriting. The two of them also wore gloves meticulously to avoid leaving fingerprints at the house. The plan went off without a hitch. I wondered why the police investigation was so sloppy, but there was a reason for that too. It was because of the peculiar customs of this area. In regions with many wealthy people and business owners, the police tended to support them in various ways. It was convenient for both parties to do so, as they received various favors from each other. Therefore, being neither wealthy or running a company, I, a so-called outsider, was at a disadvantage from the start. Since there was no payoff for putting effort into investigating outsiders, it naturally turned into a shoddy job. Even in a situation that seemed to indicate that a third party had committed the murder, the police, without conducting proper investigations, simply accepted the suicide note as evidence of a murder-suicide. It seemed that this incident would have been buried in darkness. However, an unexpected savior appeared. That was the Jennifer family. The fact that Jennifer's mother had relatives in the police force probably meant they weren't just ordinary officers. It's likely that they're quite influential within the police force. If not, there's no way they would have initiated a reinvestigation. I found out later that the elderly detective who was in charge of me had been demoted. This, too, can be attributed to the influential police contacts of the Jennifer family. Upon re-examination, footage from neighborhood security cameras showed Lori and Sam's car. Of course, that alone isn't conclusive evidence. However, a testimony from a neighbor who claimed to have seen a suspicious couple entering and leaving the house was also obtained. Based on this information, a search warrant was issued for Lori and Sam's residence. It's unclear whether they anticipated this turn of events, but the Lucas family's house had been meticulously cleaned. Not a single fingerprint was found, but luck was on our side. Fibers from the clothing Olivia wore that day were discovered in Lucas's house. Additionally, footprints believed to belong to William were found at the front entrance. Based on this evidence, Lucas's parents, Lori and Sam, were arrested. Initially, they attempted to lie, but when confronted with the evidence, they confessed readily. They admitted to taking the lives of Olivia and William, all to conceal the shocking scandal of Lucas, an elementary school student, impregnating Olivia. With that, the suspicion toward William has been cleared. I feel a tiny bit relieved. It's just too sad for William to be not only deceased but also falsely branded as a criminal. Subsequently, this incident became a big news story and caused a commotion in society. On television and in magazines, it was featured as the dark side of a wealthy family, and apparently, photos of the Lucas family were circulating on social media. I say apparently because I haven't actually seen them. A friend or acquaintance told me, but I made a point not to absorb uncertain information from the internet. From now on, I have to fight in real places. That's the court. As a bereaved family member, I decided to utilize the victim participation system and appear in court. I just can't let those people off without saying a word. Instead of moping around like this, I want to strike back. On the day of the trial, as soon as I took my seat, my eyes immediately fell on Lori and Sam. Both of them looked downcast, aged. Doing so, they didn't look glamorous or wealthy at all. But more than that, I struggled to contain the anger and sadness that kept welling up one after another. I can never forgive the fact that Olivia and William were killed just for the sake of these people's appearances. Prompted by the judge, I made a statement. Olivia wasn't our biological child, but we raised her with love and care. Do you understand the sadness of having that suddenly taken away for unjust reasons? And on top of that, you plotted to kill my husband and even tried to brand him as a criminal. I won't forgive you for taking 2 lives just for the sake of appearances, to cover up your child's wrongdoing with such ridiculous reasons. I demand the death penalty. I shouted, and the courtroom fell silent. Lori and Sam were pale-faced and trembling. Had they just realized the magnitude of the crimes they had committed? But it was too late. Reflecting on their actions after taking someone's life was futile. If possible, I want them back. If that's impossible, I want Lori and Sam to pay with their lives, I thought. And then the verdict was announced. As requested, the 2 were sentenced to death. Honestly, I felt relieved for the time being. We don't know when the sentence will be carried out. Lori and Sam will spend their days until then in fear. Olivia and William won't come back, but I want them to understand even a little bit of the fear the 2 experienced. It's truly pitiful that they were robbed of their lives for such a ridiculous reason as appearances. And there's one more person involved in this case. Lucas. While he wasn't directly involved in the incident that took Olivia and William's lives, it's a fact that he impregnated Olivia. The body has already been cremated, so we can't confirm it per se. But Lucas confessed, and there were testimonies from both parents. However, Lucas is in elementary school and still a minor. Children under 14 cannot be subjected to punishment. Therefore, a report was made to Child Protective Services, and he was placed in a foster care facility. He's now facing the crime he himself committed, crying and regretting. He's still a kid but succumbed to desires and curiosity, hurting Olivia in the process. I hope he never forgets that, and I hope he sincerely reflects on it. Later, I reported the outcome of the trial at the graveside of Olivia and William. William, your name has been cleared. Olivia, I'm sorry I couldn't protect you, but those guys got the death penalty. That doesn't mean you two are coming back, but justice has been served, so rest in peace." With that, the flowers I had just offered swayed slightly. It might have been the wind, but it felt as if the two of them had responded, and tears welled up in my eyes. And then, 10 years passed. I now live in a city far away from that place. It's tough being in a place filled with memories of Olivia and William. That's one reason. But more than anything, I've grown tired of being in a place where only the wealthy gather. Chasing appearances and social status, people flocked to vested interests. It's what ultimately led to Olivia and William losing their lives. I couldn't help but see it as foolish, and I no longer had any reason to be in such a corrupt land. Afterward, I've been working while actively involved in the Crime Victims Association. I organize seminars, propose places for victims to talk amongst themselves. The activities are diverse. Assisting me in this endeavor is Jennifer. Jennifer is now a college student, studying psychology. With her enrollment in university, she ended up living alone in the same city where I reside, so she started helping with our activities. Jennifer was tormented by guilt over not being able to warn Olivia. But the Lucas family is entirely responsible for that incident. It's not Jennifer's fault. Don't worry about it, I reassured her many times. And over time, although it took a while, she gradually began to move forward, showing me a bright smile. Recently, the existence of the Victims Association has gradually become known, leading to an increase in speaking engagements, magazine features, and television appearances. I've become quite busy, but I never forget about Olivia and William, not even for a moment. I've often thought about what life would be like if they were still alive. But every time I threw myself into my work, I want to be helpful in any way I can to support the many families of crime victims. That, above all, will be the best way to honor their memory. As someone left behind, I've made it my mission to fulfill my duties. From now on, even if things get tough, I intend to keep moving forward. I believe Olivia and William are watching over us from heaven.